Today we are going to be talking about the evolution of A/B testing. Believe it or not, I did a training on this during our live community call, and I was so excited to upload it for all of our members and for anyone that wanted to watch the recording, but I realized that this recording was not saved for some reason. But that just means that this one's going to be even better. I did in fact go through and update the slides, so like when I say it, I actually mean it. This is meant to be because it did need some tweaks, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. We're going to go over the evolution of A/B testing. A/B testing between 2018 and 2023/early 2024. What is the definition of A/B testing? A/B testing, also known as split testing or bucket testing. A/B testing is the method of comparing at least two versions of an ad against each other to determine which one performs better. This is a visual that just explains what this looks like. We have users on the platform. We have a version 1, a version 2, and a version 3. Which one performed best? Okay, well, let's compare click-through rate. This one has a 20%, this one has a 2%, and this one has a 0.5%. So version 3 is the strongest based on the data. Platforms will randomly distribute different versions of an ad to its users, and we are then able to get those performance metrics for each version. In this case, for A/B testing, v3.1 for whatever reason. Now I'm going to go through and show some older school A/B testing that we no longer do or should be doing because of Meta's AI change when it comes to their algorithm. We'll talk more about that shortly, but let me just show you what I mean by A/B testing between 2018 and like late 2023, early 2024. Watch the hook.
Is Gordon Ramsay's cooking set worth the hype? Let's check it out. It's like a superhero pan.
All right, so we got V1.
Is Gordon Ramsay's cooking set worth the hype? Let's check it out. It's like a superhero pan.
All right, that was V2.
This set went viral on TikTok and the results blew my mind. It's like a superhero pan.
All right, so those were three versions of the same ad. And what I mean by that is the hooks are different, but the rest of the sales sequence is the same. So this hook was,
is Gordon Ramsay's cooking set worth the hype?
You have the product shot on the bottom, dual screen, and then on the top, we have what is the perfect slip off of the egg. It's not stuck. It shows that this pan doesn't stick, and they're not saying it. They are showing it. And then the text on screen is Gordon Ramsay's cooking set worth the hype. Followed by this hook, which is the same text on screen. However, it is not a half screen. It is an unboxing shot.
Is Gordon Ramsay's cooking set worth the hype?
And then we have the third hook, which is completely different headline. Let's see what the voiceover is.
This set went viral on TikTok and the results blew my...
So it's also completely different voiceover in the sense of it's not saying, is Gordon Ramsay's cooking set worth the hype? All right, so we have three hooks. V1 and V2 are obviously very similar. All three of them are also very similar in the sense that they all have product shot focuses, with the exception of V2 is exclusively an unboxing, whereas V1 has product use and the unboxing shot, and then V3 is solely the product in use. This is not considered wildly different. These are examples from the wild, but they're not considered wildly different because they all go into the same sales sequence. So really just the first 2 to 3 seconds are different. I'm gonna play another two versions.
Once you get these, you'll never buy another pan again.
All right, so once you get these, you'll never get another pan again, followed by this scene.
Non-stick pans are expensive and scratchy.
Whereas V2,
once you get these, you'll never buy another pan again. Non-stick pans...
the only difference immediately is that we have V2 where it has a perceived customer review. I say perceived because it doesn't say the actual like verified buyer. It doesn't say the buyer name. So likely it's not actually a quote. It's just being perceived as one. And then you have the, jarring shot of the fork rubbing against the pan. Granted, you don't hear that jarring sound, which is obviously really nice that they didn't have us listen to that because that sounds painful, or probably would be. It goes from this B-roll shot with this quote into once you get these, which look at this.
Once you get these, you'll never...
So the shot after saying this line is in a studio. It's the product in use, which is the pan with the oil.
Buy another pan again.
Showing the demo of the egg being cracked and fried in the pan.
Non-stick.
Going into what is this jarring shot versus
Once you get these, you'll never.
They have a shot of the store. So again, these are all very, very similar and contradict what would be present day. These ads were pulled back in end of 2023. So this is not their current testing structure to my knowledge, but these examples were pulled, I guess, technically almost 2 years ago, I guess. Wow, time goes by so fast. So these are, old school testing. This is how we used to test back in the day. I'm going to give another concept version with 3 iterations. All right, so that was the hook 1, calling out moms with young kids. They're obsessed with this. Going into the sales sequence, so they all show up saying the same thing after the hook. So we have them calling out the mom demographic who is obsessed with this, and it's showing that it's really easy to clean, fits very much that demographic. Whereas for the men over 35, they have a more sexy, sleek shot of the product, followed by
a little commotion for my new head flag pan and the sizzle. Oh.
Very similar text, obviously not the same, but very similar. I threw out, my scratched up non-toxic pan versus my toxic non-stick pan. This one is obviously more wildly different in the sense that you have someone actually talking to camera, a man who's over 35, so he visually fits that demographic. That said, because it's only the first 2 to 3 seconds, I do not consider these ads wildly different. How A/B testing works. Testing fundamentals. Start simple. Have a hypothesis. Know what you're testing and why. For example, the family angle drives more conversions. That is a hypothesis. 2, change one thing. Test one element at a time, like the headline or visual. Keep in mind, this is the old school way of thinking. You can no longer just switch out the headline of a static and consider that a fair test because Meta's algorithm does not consider it wildly different. So it will be sent to the same person, the same audience, and it's basically preventing you from casting a wider net and getting more net new customers. So change one thing. This is what testing fundamentals were between 2018, late 2023, early 2024. Let it run. Don't stop early. Make sure you have enough data. This is still best practice. Give it enough time, give it enough spend in order to make sure that it's given a fair shot. Every brand is going to be different based on their budget, the way they test. Let it run. Don't just launch it and in the first hour shut it off. You got to give it a chance. And then keep conditions steady. Avoid testing during unusual spikes or events. And then advanced strategies, level up your testing, segment by audience. What works for one person might flop for another. It's so important to have creative diversity because all different types of audience members have different justifications, reasons, emotional triggers, all the things as to why they purchase a product, which is why having diversity of creatives, what are the formats? I could be sold on a static, but someone might need a more higher definition ad that is like a sit-down testimonial of the founder. Maybe someone needs a UGC mashup to be sold, whatever it might be. Compare consistently. Use the same metrics like click-through rate, thumb stop, any other creative-related KPIs across variants. Keep iterating. Learn from each test and refine. Analyze deeply. Find what truly moved the needle and apply it next round. These are all still very much so best practices in present day. I would say the one thing that has changed is change one thing. That's not wildly different, which is why we're going to go into visual examples next of what that actually looks like. But the TLDR, too lazy, didn't read, is A/B testing isn't about running random experiments. It's about learning fast and improving faster. And I do want to emphasize that changing one thing is still a strategy. It just looks different. And I'm going to show you examples so that can make sense to you guys. So this is what marketers did before, and this is what A/B testing looks like in 2025 going into 2026. And I added question marks because things are always subject to change in this ever-evolving landscape of what is performance creative and digital marketing. So you want to test wildly different iterations. These are really great examples of what I mean by that. So when I think of what was change one thing, test one element at a time, like the headliner visual. That is not considered wildly different. However, what is the one thing going into this test? This is focused on buy one, get one free. So that is the overarching angle. That is what we're going in for testing. This is the campaign. But now we want to be able to have a variety of visual formats. On the left, we have the circle, red circle with the big white text with a black backdrop. In the middle, we have a very big one and free in red. And then the one on the right, we have buy one, get one free with a more aesthetic background. It feels more cohesive. So this is a good example of taking one concept, which would be oh, hey, we want to test a buy one, get one static with iterations. This could be the deliverable if you wanted to test 3. Here are some other visual examples of creative diversity. We have one product, which are these, they look like pants, but they're really leggings. They're high-waisted. And so the image on the left, we have last chance to get it, but notice how last chance to get it is also in the image to the right, also to the image to the right, and then also to the image to the far right. We also have the sale communicated in 2 different ways, up to 50% off and 2 for $39. So they're testing 2 different ways to convey this sale. And the reason why I consider these wildly different, even though they have, very similar copy one way or another, is because they're testing SKU colors and they're also shifting the designs a bit. This again is a good example of we need a static concept with 4 iterations. This is what those deliverables could look like. For A/B testing in 2025, you want to prioritize creative diversity versus minor iterations. So we have the 2 on the left that feel a little too similar. They have the same design, very similar layout. The only difference are the 2 circles. I still feel like they're just a little too similar for my liking. I would want it to be more visually different. And then the one on the right is still a little too similar. Here's what I would suggest to test. I would test these 2 against each other because these 2, they are under the same campaign, the same overarching theme, which is 50% off, last chance, and you have 2 very different designs, 2 similar hero shots in the sense of both of them have a woman up until like rib cage and down, you don't see their face, and then we have, on the left, a close-up of the pockets along with a variety of the SKU colors, whereas the one on the right, feels more aesthetic. It has that close-up of the different colors, and this to me feels like a fair test when it comes to wildly different creatives. When we talk about creative diversity being stronger than minor iterations, the one on the left feels a little too similar. Again, very similar design and just layout. Whereas if you look at the 2 on the right, we have wildly different iterations. That is what I would consider a fair test when we think of Meta's changes in their AI algorithm. I have client examples now that I wanted to show. So instead of testing like this, where it's literally the same design, the same image, the same call to action, just different headline and subheadline. Not these either. Next slide, I'll show you guys what I would test, but these are, again, very similar to the one on the left, which is same image, CTA, literally identical with the exception of the headline. I would test these instead. So I would test wildly different images. If you notice the one on the left, we have the same hero image, but we have a note, like a iPhone notes layout design. And then we have a positive review, implied positive review, with the 15% off being more in the focus, along with the unique selling point callouts. Even though it is very much the same design, I consider this more wildly different because of the hierarchy of this static. The one on the right, which is 3 different versions, we have the same headline and the same offer, but 3 wildly different images. We have the blonde, maybe strawberry blonde. We have kind of like red tinted. And then the one above, we have a woman with her hair showing. So we have 3 very different hair colors, 2 of which do not show faces and 1 of which does. I would consider these 2 different concepts as wildly different iterations. So instead of testing like this, where again, the only difference is the headline, I would test like this. So I know they're two very different brands, but for the sake of just showing difference, we have the same headline, the same subheadline, the same time that the sale is going to end and the offer, but we have two very different visuals. We're also kind of targeting two different demographics. We're targeting BMX bikers, mountain bikers versus the skateboarder. And so we also have someone in frame that is humanizing this static, whereas the one below is letting the viewer envision themselves by having this product-focused image. Instead of testing like this, the one on the left, which is literally the exact same with the exception of different headlines, I would test these three images on the right, which are wildly different designs, but still the same headline, Cheech and Chong approved cruise. And then instead of testing like this, where again the only change is the headline, or like this, another example of literally just the headline changing, I would test like this. This is a monthly subscription box where you get different products. So I would actually A/B test different products and different features versus the same product and like literally just one headline change, because maybe someone's like justification for getting the subscription is because they really wanted the first product, maybe the second product, or maybe the lash product. And then instead of testing like the ones on the left, where again, we only have the headline change, not even the sub-headline, I would test on the right, where it's literally focused on different angles, different customer demographics in the sense that we have a woman versus a man. And so they're all focused on this overarching theme of sale, but they are visually different and reflective of different demographics while also testing different headlines. And then when it comes to A/B testing in 2025 for video examples, I'm going to go through some Halara ones first, and then I will show you guys some client examples that I have. I'm going to play the first few seconds to show the lack of wildly different concepts.
Goodbye, skinny jean. These are the new pants to wear. Goodbye, skinny jean. These are the new pants to wear.
All right, same voiceover, same text on screen, very, very similar side-by-side imagery.
Goodbye, skinny jean. These are the new pants to wear.
Very similar. Again, it looks like the same woman on the left. This one is showcasing the different colored SKUs.
Goodbye, skinny jean. These are the new pants to wear.
Whereas this one is showing like POV shots and also like people pulling to show the stretch. But again, these are all still way too similar in present day because like they literally all look the same and go into very similar sales sequences. That said, what I would do is I'm going to play this video and then this video all the way through or halfway through just to show you that these two sales sequences are different, and this would be my test.
Goodbye, skinny jean. These are the new pants to wear. Stretchy and wrinkle resistant. Elastic waistband. Wide leg style. Side pockets. Pleated details. Goodbye, skinny jean. These are the new pants to wear. Woo! Killing. No. Color fade.
So what I would have done is I would have made sure that the hooks were more wildly different between these two. That way then when we're going into these different sales sequences, it's not being sent to the same person, the same group, and you know, being held back from casting that wider net. The hooks in all three versions are practically identical in this example.
The most magical dress on the planet and magical dress on this dress.
So literally all the same. The twisting shot, the only difference is this one has the other SKUs on the side. If this were to be the test, what I would have liked to do is have maybe this be one of the versions going into what I consider an on-ramp between the hook, on-ramp, and the body of the video, which could be the same. That way then we're personalizing those first 10 to 15 seconds versus the first 2 to 3. And then maybe having this be a little bit more different. That way then it's not too similar with the same twist. Whereas this example is great because it is for the same SKU, it is considered wildly different, and I will show you this example.
These are so good that I bought 3 just this month. Side pocket, adjustable buckle at the... We found what you've been looking for, a super comfy skirt with pocket. Side pocket, adjustable buckle at the leg, built-in shorts.
If you notice, there's an underlying theme taking place. There are a lot of similarities, but they're still wildly different. And this is honestly a really good example of that. So the one on the left, this one is not wildly different enough, in my opinion.
This is so cute. It's exactly what I needed. So trendy right now, and it's so stretchy. Look at that. That's gonna be so comfy. And you can wear it with the long sweater, literally, I'm gonna live in it. They're so cute. I've been wanting one of these rompers ever. Everyone that wears them just looks so comfy and cute. So glad I found my hands on one. This one is so affordable to you guys.
It's way too similar. Again, these were pulled back in early 2024. The ones from the pan ad examples, those were from end of 2023, but these would not be worth a test in present day. However, I'm going to show you two other examples.
Despite skinny jeans, these are the new pants to wear. To deep side pockets.
Versus
To deep side pockets.
So this one at the 5-second marker is when it starts to switch up, but it does feel wildly different enough that I feel like you could get away with this, especially because of how just like wild this hook is. Like it literally goes until the 7-second marker. And then this one is the side by side of two women showcasing the, I guess, like fluidity of the pants or like the breeziness of the pants. I guess it also does show a little bit of stretch, right? Yeah, and then at the 5-second marker it goes in. Versus
I bought 3 of these this month. Let me tell you why. Butt lifted. Tummy control. 4-way stretch.
versus
Butt lifting. Zone compression. 4-way stretch. Tummy control. Tummy controlling butt lift yoga pants. Tummy control. 4-way stretch.
They are different. I will say the design itself is a little too similar. So if I were to do this test, I would do one version without the 3 supporting images. And then I would do another test where I would have the 3 supporting images, but I would probably do like flashing GIF to show the variety of the SKU colors. And then here are some client examples. So instead of testing like this,
how I got top designer fragrances for my boyfriend for less than $9. I'm getting top design less than $9 for top designer fragrances. I'm getting top. This instantly makes guys 10 times hotter. I'm getting how I got top designer fragrances for less than $9.
All goes into the same sales sequence at the 2 to 3 second marker versus these 4 wildly different versions.
How I got top designer cologne and perfume without the designer prices. Scentbird is the fragrance subscription service. This instantly makes guys 10 times hotter. I ordered Scentbird and it's finally here.
2 very different sales sequences.
Less than $9 for top designer fragrances. I'm getting top designer fragrance.
All right, I'm getting top designer fragrances.
It makes guys 10 times hotter. I ordered Scentbird.
Scentbird.
Scentbird
is the fragrance, so 3 very different sales sequences and hooks. So like the hooks are different, the visuals are different, and then it goes into a different sales sequence. Typically the on-ramp into what would be the evergreen storyline of the ad.
How I got Versace perfume for less than $9. I am so glad that my friend showed me the Scentbird.
And again, I know this feels counterintuitive to previous best practices that we are very well familiar with. But again, because of Meta's algorithm and just the nuances taking place with their AI, it is so important to dedicate those first, ideally 7 to 10, if not 10 to 15 seconds of the ad. Because when you think about it, I had made note of this because, we did this training in the community and one of our students had mentioned, like we got on this call with our Meta rep and they had said, as long as the first 3 seconds are different, we're going to consider that wildly different. And what I had said was every Meta rep is going to say something different because I've literally been on the call with Meta reps where we're spending anywhere from $2 to $4 million a month on their platform, whereas her client's spending with all of their accounts just shy or under $1 million. My Meta reps have said, you really need to invest into creative diversity as wildly different as possible. Whereas this Meta rep had told her, as long as the first 3 to 5 seconds are different, that's all that matters. But when you think about the customer experience and their journey from scrolling and being stopped by an ad, what is better for them? An ad where the first 3 to 5 seconds are personalized for them before they go into the evergreen general ad, or the first 10 to 15 seconds that start with a hook that they connect to. Maybe they point out a problem and pain point and then agitate that pain point and then set up the product as the solution at that 15-second marker where they then go into that evergreen storyline. What I basically posed to her was, sure, they might say this and like, sure, it might still work because, you know, it still works to an extent. But again, would you rather go 50 miles per hour on the highway or 75? If you could go 75 and not get pulled over and you like wanted to get somewhere faster, wouldn't you want to do that? And I feel like customizing that customer journey as much as possible, personalizing it for that viewer, it'll never do any harm. It will do more good than anything. So instead of testing like this,
I'm going to share my number one travel hack. I'm always traveling and on the go. I am so afraid to bring my expensive ring to a new city, through an airport, or even leaving it in a hotel stay. So I did my research and I found this company
versus
all the brides-to-be. Listen up. I'm always traveling and on the go.
So again, she called out the audience the first 2 seconds and that was it. So all the brides to be, listen up versus
I'm going to share my number one travel hack.
I'm going to share my number one travel hack. So we're calling out those that travel and then we're also calling out, you know, brides to be. That is too similar because the first 2 seconds are personalized and the rest of the video is not. Whereas we had 2 creators, 2 very different demographics do the same script. That way then we could test what would be that one factor of who performs better with this script, a Gen X creator or a Gen Z or Zillennial creator.
I'm going to share my number one travel hack. I'm always on the go.
I'm going to share my number one travel hack. I'm always traveling and on the go.
That is worth more of a test in my opinion. All right, and that's it for today's video. If you guys found this helpful, please engage with it, like it, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications if you haven't already. Also, if you're interested in seeing how I approach this evolution of A/B testing from a creative strategist and creative director perspective, let me know in the comments below. When I say this, what I mean is like, okay, Kelly, if you're saying we need wildly different concepts, what if our team's bandwidth is tight? What if our budget is tight? How are we able to match what the algorithm is prioritizing when it comes to wildly different without spreading our teams too thin? And I've been able to do this for multiple clients, and I've seen a level of success that is undeniable that these systems work. So if you're interested in seeing this process, comment down below and I just might film a video about it. Thank you again for watching this video. If you want to check out our UGC University video course, our Intro to Creative Strategy video course, our masterclass on creative strategy and paid media, check it out in the description below and there may or may not be a discount code. Also, if you didn't know this already, we have the UGC Pro podcast that is streaming on all major platforms, also linked in the description below. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.